The grand palace of the planet Veralia floated above the swirling clouds of a giant gas planet. Its towers shimmered with lights of blue and gold, reflecting the pride and wealth of the Verelian royal family. Inside the highest tower, Princess Lysera sat at a polished crystal table, her long silver hair falling over her shoulders. Around her, members of the royal court waited in silence. The atmosphere was tense. Lysera's eyes sparkled with confidence as she prepared for her next move in the game that had captivated the entire kingdom. The game was called Luminaris, a strategic challenge played with holographic tiles that represented the fates of planets, trade routes, and armies. Among the Verelians, winning Luminaris was more than a game. It was proof of skill, intelligence, and control over chance. Lysera loved the thrill. She was unmatched in strategy and had rarely met a worthy opponent. But today, she had done something bold. She placed a wager that shocked the court. "If I lose," she announced, her voice clear and proud, "I will accept the council's choice for my penalty." The room murmured. Among Verelians, the council's penalties were not mild. To gamble so openly was dangerous, but Lysera trusted her skill. She leaned back, confident that she would win, her fingers hovering over the glowing tiles. Her opponent, Lord Varys, a cunning advisor known for both luck and deception, smirked. He moved his tiles carefully, predicting Lysera's strategy with ease. The game stretched on for hours. Every move changed the tide. Lysera's confidence began to waver slightly. Lord Varys's calm, deliberate style was unexpected. Finally, the decisive moment arrived. A single move by Lord Varys shifted the board. Lysera's carefully built strategy collapsed. The glowing tiles flickered and dissolved. The court gasped. The princess had lost. Lysera's lips pressed into a thin line. She had not expected defeat. The penalty would now be enforced, as it had been written in the traditions of the Verelian kingdom. The High Council, the group of elder leaders who enforced all royal laws, stepped forward. Their leader, an aged figure with bright amber eyes, spoke with calm authority. "Princess Lysera," he said, "the rules of your wager are clear. You have lost. Your penalty is to marry a human chosen by this council." The words echoed through the hall like thunder. Every member of the court froze. Among the Verelians, humans were considered unpredictable, even chaotic. They were respected for their courage, but also seen as wild, sometimes dangerous. To marry one was a fate that could bring embarrassment and scandal. Lysera's eyes blazed with anger. "This is impossible," she exclaimed. "I am a princess of Verelia. No human should be allowed into my palace." The council remained calm. "The rules of the wager apply to all," the leader said. "The human chosen has assisted our people in the past and has proven worthy of notice. His name is Ethan, a human from the star system Solara. He will arrive at this palace within the hour." Lysera's hands clenched into fists. She could hardly believe the audacity of fate. She had gambled for entertainment, and now, the loss would bring her a human as a partner, a being she had been taught to view as clever but unpredictable, often reckless and in her eyes beneath the dignity of a princess. Meanwhile, on a distant spaceship in the orbit of Verelia, Ethan prepared to enter the palace. He had been summoned suddenly, leaving behind the familiar hum of his ship. A skilled human explorer and diplomat, he had helped the Verelians during a crisis involving a rogue asteroid cluster. His bravery had earned him recognition, but he had never expected anything like this. "Marriage?" he muttered to himself, tightening the strap of his uniform. "I'm here to help, not this." Ethan was calm, but he carried the quiet confidence that humans had cultivated for generations. He had faced dangerous alien worlds, hostile environments, and unpredictable creatures. A palace full of curious eyes, he realized, would be no different. The palace gates opened, and Ethan stepped onto the floating platform. Crystal lights shimmered across the marble floors as guards watched his every move. Lysera, standing at the top of the grand stairway, saw him for the first time. He was tall, with strong features and clear eyes. His posture was steady. He met her gaze without fear, and for a moment Lysera felt a flicker of curiosity, quickly replaced by irritation. "You are the human?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "The one I am to marry?" Ethan inclined his head slightly, a respectful gesture. "I am Ethan," he said. "I am here because the council requested my presence. I will comply with your customs." Lysera narrowed her eyes. "Comply? You are still a human. You will not follow my orders, and you will embarrass me before my people. I follow reason and fairness, Ethan replied calmly. If your people treat me with respect, I will do the same. The tension in the air was palpable. The court whispered among themselves. Many had never seen a human in such close contact with a royal. Some doubted Ethan could survive the cultural and political challenges of the palace. Others were curious to see if a human could change the princess's perspective, as humans often did in unexpected ways. Lysera turned abruptly, refusing to look at him further. The ceremony will proceed, she said. But mark my words, human, I will not yield to you easily. The council arranged the betrothal ceremony in the central hall, under the massive dome of shimmering crystal. Guests from distant worlds attended, their robes sparkling in the reflected light. Ethan stood patiently, observing the customs carefully. He bowed when necessary, followed the ceremonial steps, and answered questions with respect. Lysera, however, moved through the ceremony with her usual pride. Every glance at Ethan was sharp, her thoughts racing. She had been trained to rule, to win, to hold power, and yet here was a human who neither flinched nor bowed out of his place. As the final ritual concluded, the High Council declared them bonded according to tradition. The words rang out through the hall. By the wager of Luminaris and the will of the council, Princess Lysera is now bound in marriage to the human, Ethan. A hush fell. Lysera's face burned with anger and humiliation. She had lost, but more than that, she faced the challenge of sharing her life with someone she had been taught to view as inferior. Ethan, however, remained composed. His calm confidence, though quiet, carried a strength that began to unsettle her. After the ceremony, the couple was escorted to the private quarters of the palace. Lysera's room was vast, filled with elegant furnishings and holographic displays of the galaxy. She turned to Ethan, her voice cold. Know this, she said. I will not respect you because you are human. I will only respect you if you prove yourself capable. Do not think this bond will be easy for you or for me. Ethan nodded. I understand. I will do my best to honor your customs and to help wherever I can, but I am not afraid of challenges. For the first time, Lysera studied him closely. His eyes were steady, thoughtful, and intelligent. She saw no fear, no weakness, only determination. Her pride bristled, but a small, reluctant part of her recognized that humans, this human, were different from what she expected. That night, as the twin moons of Virelia rose above the palace, Lysera could not sleep. She stared out over the glittering city, thinking about the gamble, her loss, and the human who now shared her life. Ethan's presence was a puzzle she could not yet solve. He was unpredictable, but in a way that was oddly fascinating. Somewhere deep inside, Lysera realized that this penalty might not just be punishment. Humans were clever, resourceful, and fearless in ways her people had rarely seen. Perhaps, she thought reluctantly, this human could change more than her life. He could challenge her entire understanding of the galaxy. And as Ethan settled into the quarters, quietly reviewing the palace's layouts and customs in his mind, he thought the same thing. This assignment forced by fate was unusual. But humans thrived in unusual situations. And if the galaxy had taught him anything, it was that the greatest discoveries came from unexpected challenges. The palace was silent that night, but both Lysera and Ethan knew that the days ahead would test them in ways neither could predict. One was a proud princess unaccustomed to defeat. The other, a human, calm and capable, ready to face whatever came. The story of their bond, begun in humiliation and curiosity, was only just starting. And the court, watching from afar, whispered to one another, what will this human do? Can he survive the pride of a Virelian princess? Or will he falter, proving the gamble's penalty was deserved? The answer, neither the court nor Lysera could know, would unfold in ways that would shock the galaxy. The morning after the betrothal ceremony, the palace hummed with activity. Servants floated silently on anti-gravity platforms, carrying trays of crystalline food and luminous beverages. Courtiers whispered about the unusual pairing of the Virelian princess and a human. Many were curious, some doubtful, and a few secretly excited. But all agreed on one thing: the palace would never be the same again. Princess Lysera strode through the halls with her usual elegance, her silver hair glinting under the soft light of floating lamps. She entered the room where Ethan was examining the palace maps displayed on holographic screens. You are still here? she said, her tone sharp but tinged with curiosity. "Do you even understand our ways? Our laws, our expectations?" Ethan looked up, meeting her gaze with calm assurance.
"I am learning," he said.
"I study what is necessary. I respect your customs, but I will also think for myself. That is how humans succeed." Lysera's brow furrowed. She was not used to someone speaking so confidently, especially someone considered inferior by her people. But there was something about his manner, calm, precise, and thoughtful, that unsettled her. Over the next few days, Lysera found herself constantly aware of Ethan's presence. The palace, once filled with familiar routines, now seemed unpredictable. Ethan's perspective, so different from the rigid traditions of Virelia, challenged her assumptions. The first real test came when the palace's security systems detected a small breach in the outer perimeter. A rogue drone, malfunctioning and erratic, had slipped through the defenses. Alarm lights flashed and the court panicked. Lysera's advisors scrambled, discussing defensive maneuvers and containment strategies. Ethan, however, stepped forward calmly. "Show me the drone's path and system logs," he requested. In minutes, he had identified the exact weakness in the defense matrix and proposed a solution. Using a combination of human ingenuity and the palace's technology, he guided the security team to trap the drone safely. The court watched in stunned silence. The breach was contained with minimal damage thanks to the human. Lysera, who had initially intended to scold him, found herself speechless. She had expected mistakes, hesitation, perhaps even failure. Instead, Ethan's actions demonstrated skill, courage, and quick thinking, qualities she had never expected from a human. Later, in the quiet of the observation tower, Lysera confronted him. You did not fail," she admitted reluctantly. "I expected you to make errors. I expected weakness." Ethan looked at her without arrogance. "I do what I can. Humans are not perfect, but we adapt. We survive by thinking, by taking risks when necessary." Lysera turned away, feeling a mixture of irritation and admiration. She had always been taught that humans were clever, yes, but limited. And yet here was proof that one human could match or even exceed the expectations of her most skilled advisors. Days passed, and the bond between them began to shift. They trained together in the palace's combat simulators, their differences becoming lessons for both. Lysera's precise, calculated style was complemented by Ethan's instinctive and adaptive approach. When they sparred, he anticipated her moves in unexpected ways, while she learned to predict his creative strategies. The court began to notice the change as well. Whispers spread that the princess, once aloof and proud, was showing signs of respect, maybe even admiration for her human companion. The once humiliated princess now found herself intrigued by the ingenuity, determination, and courage of this human who had entered her life by chance. One evening, as the twin moons of Virelia bathed the palace in pale silver light, Lysera and Ethan stood together on a balcony overlooking the swirling clouds below. The city of lights shimmered and distant ships passed through the orbital lanes. "I never thought a human could be so capable," Lysera admitted softly. "I misjudged you." Ethan glanced at her, smiling faintly. "Many beings misjudge humans, but humans have survived challenges you cannot imagine. We do what is needed even when the odds are against us." Lysera considered his words. She realized that she had underestimated not just Ethan, but humanity itself. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in ways that made them resilient, clever, and resourceful. And perhaps, she thought, that unpredictability was exactly what the galaxy needed sometimes. The next challenge arrived without warning. A fleet of alien raiders seeking to test Virelia's defenses appeared on the sensors. The palace went into emergency protocols. Alarms blared, and the court scrambled to organize a defense. Lysera's advisors debated strategy, but hesitation and disagreement slowed them. Ethan stepped forward. "We need a coordinated plan, using both human and Virelian methods," he said. His calm authority drew attention. "Humans think in different ways. We improvise, adapt, and make choices quickly. I can help coordinate the defense if you let me." Lysera studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Do it," she said. Under Ethan's guidance, the palace defenses combined advanced Virelian technology with adaptive strategies he introduced. The raiders were caught off guard. Their assault, powerful but predictable, was countered efficiently. Virelian ships moved in coordinated patterns suggested by Ethan's analysis. The fleet repelled the attack with minimal damage, and the court erupted in astonishment and approval. Lysira's eyes, normally sharp with pride, softened as she looked at him. He had not only protected the palace, but he had done it in a way that respected her people's technology, while improving their effectiveness. She realized that this human was not weak. He was extraordinary. That night, the princess and the human shared a quiet conversation in the observation room. The stars stretched endlessly across the sky, and the palace seemed calm for the first time in days. "You have changed everything," Lysira said. "My people, they respect you now. I respect you." "I did not think it possible," Ethan smiled. "Humans adapt. We do not let fear or tradition stop us. We learn from challenges and from those around us. I have learned much from you as well, princess. You are strong, clever, and brave." Lysira looked away, thinking. She had entered this arrangement with anger and resentment. She had seen it as punishment, a penalty for a lost game. But now she realized that it was something else entirely. This human, this unpredictable being, had brought out qualities in her she had never fully appreciated. Humility, curiosity, and even a hint of hope. Over the next weeks, Lysira and Ethan worked together to strengthen the palace, reorganize defenses, and train new cadets. Their partnership became legendary among the Varelians. The princess, once proud and solitary, now relied on the human's insight. The human, once an outsider, had earned trust, respect, and an unexpected sense of belonging. The final test came when a massive storm, powered by the turbulent atmosphere of the gas giant below, threatened the floating palace. Lights flickered and structural alarms blared. The court panicked, unsure how to stabilize the palace. Ethan moved quickly, assessing the situation. "We need to distribute power differently and reinforce the stabilization fields. Lysira, I need you to coordinate the palace engineers while I handle the primary controls." Working together, they stabilized the palace just as the storm's force reached its peak. The lights returned to steady glow, the alarms ceased, and the court watched in awe. The princess and the human had saved the palace, not by technology alone, but by combining intelligence, courage, and trust. Later, as the storm subsided, Lysira turned to Ethan. "I thought this penalty would humiliate me," she said. "I never imagined it would teach me respect, and perhaps something more." Ethan looked at her, his calm eyes reflecting the silver glow of the moons. Sometimes penalties become lessons. Sometimes they become partnerships. Humans and Varelians may be different, but together we are stronger. The princess smiled faintly. For the first time, she felt that the loss at the game of Luminaris was not a punishment, but a beginning. A human had entered her life by chance, but he had proven that courage, ingenuity, and respect were the qualities that truly mattered. And so, the Palace of Varelia, once a symbol of tradition and hierarchy, became a place of new ideas, unexpected alliances, and hope for the future. Princess Lysira, once proud and unyielding, had learned the strength of humility and trust. Ethan, the human, had shown that even in the most alien of worlds, humans could thrive, inspire, and change history. Together they stood on the balcony, looking out over the clouds and distant stars. Lysira's voice was soft, almost a whisper, perhaps human. "This gamble was the best thing that ever happened to me." Ethan smiled. "And perhaps, Princess, the galaxy is ready for what humans can do if we dare to try." The palace lights shimmered. The moons reflected on the crystal towers, and the story of a princess and a human, begun as a penalty, became a legend of courage, partnership, and the unpredictable power of humanity.